Hey y'all, welcome back to Convos with Bree. This is day 7, y'all. 7. It has officially been 1 week, and wow, I am just mind blown at how much this has changed, how much this has influenced, how much better I feel. I have started tackling things that mm, I've been struggling with for quite some time. And now I feel better than ever about them. I think it's so wild because dreams have a way of ebbing and flowing. And looking back at my journey, I have been thinking about how many times I have found myself wanting to quit a dream or retire a dream or, thinking that, oh, I succeeded. I completed this dream and then I didn't know what to do. I was looking back at basically all the times I thought I had it figured out and I didn't have anything really figured out. Even after I wrote my first book and then I immediately wrote my second one, I could not believe I did it. I have been writing since I could write. Like, I could not wait to know how to spell and how to communicate these stories that I had and these experiences that I had been through. And I have always, for as long as I can remember, wanted to write. I wanted to have a book that I published, and I did it twice. And honestly, when that timing was right, those flew out of my fingers. They were already written, they flew through me. The second book, Young Writers Day, Fragile Minds and the Adults That Mold Them, that book felt like my younger self came back through me and wrote that. And even when I look back at it and I read it, it sounds and it reads and it's written like a younger version of myself. And I remember when I was about to publish that book, I was very nervous because I have seen people be so mean and hateful online, especially about books that they don't feel are up to par. They think that they needed to be better. There's mistakes in them, all kinds of things. The formatting isn't up to their standards, and I don't write like that. I never have. And I actually let that understanding of how negatively some people viewed things that weren't up to a certain protocol or didn't follow certain rules. I saw that as a truth. And I was so afraid when I published that book that everyone would hate it because my younger self needed to write that. So I didn't really promote it when I wrote it. And a lot of people didn't even know I had a second book. And the thing about the second book is that I really went through all of this, and other children, young children, really went through this. I actually reached out to some of the kids that went through these things with me and tested memory to see if I had exaggerated or misremembered something. And across the board, without me prompting anything except the word duct tape, we all knew what I was talking about. They all gave me their own walkthrough of what had happened, their version of events. And now after it's been a few years since it's been out, and I've been rereading this book, and I've been playing with an idea when it comes to recording with that book, I look at it so much differently now. Now I look at it and I am even more proud of how I wrote it and how honest and authentic I let that version of myself be. Because all I really needed back then was a safe space to tell these stories without anyone else getting hurt. And back then, while I had safe people I could have told, I knew the escalation that it would bring, and I didn't have any promise that it wouldn't hurt more people. How did I know that it wouldn't backfire and these same teachers just kept hurting us even more? I couldn't handle that. I couldn't. And what if I didn't see it? What if they didn't tell me? What if I didn't know? What if they misplaced that anger and put it on another child? Y'all, I felt I felt absolutely torn. And writing that book gave me back some of my power. But I was the one that didn't allow it right away. I was the one that was scared. And I was the one that, I don't know. Honestly, it's like when I allowed that version of myself to come back through, it also came back through when I published the book. And it said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I just meant to write this for myself. I didn't mean to release this. I don't want everyone's opinion on it. This was for me. This was for us. This was for the ones that it shaped our lives and it hurt us and affected us in ways that a lot of us still carry today. Whether they realize it stems from that or not, a lot of it does come from what happened to us in that school system with those teachers. And I've talked about this a few times in other places, but my mom and I absolutely love to go garage sailing. And one year this was quite a few years ago now, but we were out and we stumbled upon two of the worst teachers I've ever had in the history of my entire educational journey. And they were fifth and sixth grade teachers. And they were having a garage sale. And we walked up, not realizing it was their garage sale. And when they realized that I was a past student, the very first thing they did was brought up every popular kid from that age group, from my grade, and started trying to gossip and talk poorly about them. And I felt like I was in a time warp, and you guys, I could not believe that I had thought that these women had so much power. They were literally stuck in not even junior high. They were stuck in elementary school. It was astonishing. I cannot fathom a life with no growth. I cannot fathom running into somebody and trying to talk about poor things about, oh man, listen, I'm struggling for words because what what even is that? What does that bring anyone? And here I was, and here so many of us were, like our lives were ruined by them. And I realized in that moment, oh my gosh, I just had a sixth grade bully as my sixth grade teacher. I just had a fifth grade bully as my fifth grade teacher. Same with fourth grade, the duct tape incident. I I grew up and I evolved and I changed. And my little self could see that. And she was so proud. She was, she could see everything differently. And I have this theory. I call them snow globes, and I will get into this in a whole episode on its own. But I look at these past memories as snow globes. I may have talked about this once or twice, but I've written a lot about it and I have not published it yet. So I will look into putting that out here because it really fits this whole topic. But there was this day that I was deep in meditation and I had a moment where I entered a room and it was just a dark room and there were these walls and lines of shelves and they all had these snow globes on them. And I was so excited. I was so excited. I wanted to look at every single snow globe. I wanted to see what was in every one of them. I wanted to shake them up and touch them and hold them in my hands. And I excitedly went over and picked up a snow globe. And I saw a whole setting, a whole scenery of a piece of my past life. Everyone I hung out with was in there, the place I worked, the just everything in that time of my life was in the snow globe. And I was so excited until I noticed everything looked like just not great. Everything was kind of dumpy. Everybody looked sad and miserable and worn out. And I felt so sad for all of us in that snow globe. And all of a sudden, I started remembering how hard everything was back then and how heavy it all felt. And then I started looking at all the snow globes, and they were all like that. And I had this moment where I just broke and I took the snow globe and I shattered it on the ground and I fell. I cried. It was everywhere. All the pieces shattered and I just sobbed. And then I saw that version of me start to move. And she started to crawl and pick herself up. And she went to all these people and she picked them up and she brought them all together. And then she went back and she started picking up the pieces of the snow globe and putting it back together. And I was just watching, absolutely stunned at what she was doing. And then one by one, all of those people started to come over and they helped her pick up all the pieces and put it back together. And then I realized they were putting themselves back in the snow globe. And I was screaming, trying to tell them to stop, that they can go wherever, they can do whatever. They don't have to get back in the snow globe. But they couldn't hear me. I couldn't even hear my voice. It was just silent. And then she boosted everyone back in and she took the final piece and she went to climb in herself. And then she looked back at me and she locked eyes like she knew what I was thinking. She knew. But somehow she knew more than me. And I understood that in that moment, but I couldn't quite fathom how. She smiled and she got in and she put that last piece in place and the snow globe sealed up. But then something changed. I started to remember how every heavy moment in that time also was surrounded by absolute beautiful moments. So much laughter, so much love, so many good things, so many dreams come true, so much excitement. And then the snow globe looked different. Everything was vibrant and alive. It was glowing. And then one by one, all of the snow globes started to change, just lightly glow. And I went up and I saw, and I started revisiting all of these memories. And I understood that my nervous system, my survival system, had been hauling around the most painful experiences while lessening the joyous ones. Because the ones that made me happy, the ones that were full of laughter and love, those were great, pure moments. I didn't have to fear those. I didn't have to fear when they were coming. I didn't have to wonder what they would bring. So I was holding on to the worst memories. I was hauling them around with me everywhere I went. And it was impacting my present. It was impacting my future. But it was also keeping those versions of all of us locked in those snow globes. And the craziest part about it was when I started healing my own snow globes, the people that were a part of them also started healing without me. They were healing in real time in their world. And I understood more deeply than ever how much our energy is tethered and connected, even when we don't think it is. I was healing things that people did not even know I was in. And I was getting messages from some of those people reminding me of good times or telling me they had been thinking about me a lot or that they were going through some tough moments, remembering things with me. And they just wanted to get it out because they needed to get it off their chest and they needed to be authentic about it and they needed some truth behind it. And we had great conversations and things healed and things were able to let go off of us and they were able to ebb and flow more smoothly after that. I couldn't believe, though, the impact that my own inner journey was bringing outward into the world. The snow globes are so powerful. Snow globes are what I'm here to truly be a part of and truly help people understand with their own snow globes and their own lives. And it helps to see how holding the past prevents us from having present moments now and beautiful futures where all of our dreams come true. Because when our snow globes are still scared, our snow globes are still stuck in the worst moments that we've been through, how can we ever believe that our dreams can come true? How can we ever believe that we're truly capable of great things when we're constantly fearing the negative things that could come or holding on to the experiences that we know we need survival from? That hauling around our hurt past, sealing in that that was our experience, that is what keeps us in these loops and keeps us in our negativity and keeps us stuck. That is why I work so hard to forgive myself in every situation, to forgive others for who they were when that's just what they had to give. They didn't know any other way to do it. That's why I forgive myself when I didn't know any other way to do it. When I truly believed that how I was responding and thinking and acting and just moving through the world was what I was supposed to do to keep myself safe. But now I know there's a better way. And now my awareness is so in tune. And I understand that there's no complete evolution. As long as we are alive, we will change, we will grow, we will evolve as long as we allow ourselves to. And that takes being kind, empathetic. That takes understanding and awareness and forgiveness. It takes being able to transmute those low frequencies into high vibrations. And it takes learning and failing forward to do that. And dreams are so funny because dreams ebb and flow with us. I cannot tell you how many times I've given up on recording. I have given up on writing. I have given up on yoga. I have given up on just all of these things because I'm always so afraid of the judgments. I'm always so afraid of the negative and the mean energy and the scary things that can come from hurt people who are hurt by others just living their life, because that was what I was hauling around. That was the experiences that I sealed in because those were the ones that hurt me the deepest. Those were the ones that caught me so off guard. I felt like my entire world was on a rug that had just been pulled out from under me. I felt like I could never have solid ground because I was constantly waiting for it to be pulled out from under me. I couldn't dream like that because I was literally frozen in fear. And I'm so proud of myself. And I really credit so much of being able to still like execute some of these dreams. But that was a lot of it was Marco was just busting through my fears. He was asking me questions that I couldn't hide behind these false narratives anymore. He brought the truth so to light that I could not stay frozen in fear. I'll never forget when I was writing the first book and I was struggling so hard. And I said, well, what if people hate it? What if people say all these things and da 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 da? And I'm spiraling, right? And he said, Who? Who's gonna say that? Who even matters enough to say that? And I was thinking about these crazy people that did not matter, that had just been all over my life. People that truly didn't matter, that I wanted my life to be nothing like, that I have tried forever to get away from. They're just racked with negativity. And I was stopping myself from jumping headfirst into my dream because I was so afraid that they would have something negative to say. And he said, of course they'll have something negative to say. Even if you don't do anything, they have something negative to say. Why would you not move because of them? There's no answer. There's no answer for that. It was silly. It felt so silly. It felt honestly like that huge, overwhelming, just like prison of fear. All of a sudden, it just popped like a balloon and it was just gone. It was just off of me. And I have found in so many of the conversations that I've had with y'all, that I have had with strangers, that I have just done in my business convos with Bree. So many people that have booked a convo with me and sat down. They needed one conversation and 40 years of anger off of them. They just woke up and they're like, I'm not angry anymore. I can't believe this. They took things that they had been struggling with, things they just couldn't seem to grasp about themselves, things they couldn't let go of, fears that they just could not get out of their way. And they just popped. They were just gone. And they could just move. And then a lot of them came back, because now you find yourself in a new area where you don't know your life without this fear, and you don't know who you are being able to flow freely, and you don't know what's real or what's true or who you are or what you're supposed to really do anymore. And then you have all these dreams that you want to execute, but you're not even exactly sure where to start now, because you've been so focused on the fear, on the block. You've been so stuck. And I know this so well that for me, it just like opens up my whole world to see that I am not alone in this. And I can see other people so clearly. I can't see me the way that I can see other people. So when somebody allows me to sit with them and have a conversation, and they bring to the table exactly what it is that they're struggling with, no bullshit, no eggshells, no, let's dance around this. Let's get right in there. Let's figure this out. Let's have a real uncomfortable, hard conversation. That is when I am able to put pieces of my own self together as well. And that is when I advance. It's through what I do. And I think that is what your dreams are meant to be here for. It's to inspire and unlock these new snow globes going forward. And it is right now being able to pick up your present snow globe and say, there's a lot of love here. There's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of beauty, no matter where you are. And y'all, my snow globes were just rock bottom after rock bottom after rock bottom. But in every single one of them, there was beauty. There was so many things right in front of my face. People, memories, scenery, just everything was working out. It was overthinking, overanalyzing. It was running away. It was staying stuck in places that I didn't want to be, thinking thoughts I didn't want to think, speaking words that didn't align with who I was at my core, trying to fit in. It was all just fear. And it was all just insecurity and an unknowing of where I was going. But I was so rough on myself, and I was doing such a better job than I ever realized. And I think with every cell in my body that that is true for all of us. All of us. It does not matter your experience. It does not matter what you have or have not been through. Every one of us struggles with our perception of self and our perspective of the world around us. Because until those two things change and they open and they grow, we can't truly align. So if you travel a lot, but you never do any self-growth work, or you travel a lot, but you complain and you find the misery in every trip, you're not going to change your perception of yourself. your perspective of the world will change because you'll see more, you'll know more, but at the end of the day, you're still the same person. Vice versa. If you do all this self-growth work, but you never leave your hometown, you're never going to know anything other than your hometown. If you only take a little trip here, a little trip there, but you're not able to really immerse yourself in it, in the culture, in the community, in the lessons, in all of it, and you're just sort of escaping from your real life, you're not aligning the growth. And so it doesn't change us the way that we want. And I understood that after we spent 3.5 years on the road. We spent enough time everywhere to really become immersed in where we were, to meet the people, to work jobs there, to explore. We went out in the middle of the desert and had nobody else around. All these fears that I used to have, I used to get scared, like driving 10 minutes. Like, what if my car breaks down and I have to call somebody to come and help me? Like, that used to be a fear of mine. And now here I was sitting out in the middle of the desert where I know absolutely no one that would be able to come and get me or help me. And I had no resources if I broke down or if I got stuck out there. And I wasn't afraid at all, because I allowed my perspective of the world to just flourish. And I saw everything. Took in everything, and I allowed it to change my perception of self. I allowed it to show me how much I had grown and changed, and how much work I had truly done, and how much my patterns have started working together and upgraded their mechanisms, and how much awareness went into building this beautiful life. And I understood that even in the worst times, the absolute worst times, that there was beauty, and that all I had to do was open my eyes and look for it. There's this lyric in one of the Cottonmouth King songs, and it says, "You can't see what you're not looking for." And every time I hear that lyric, it gives me full body chills. The Used has so many songs like this that just full body chills hit me every time. Tom Petty, Wildflowers. Tom Petty has so many that do this to me too. But it just reminds me constantly, you can't see what you're not looking for. If I'm not finding any beauty, I'm not looking for it. And I started asking myself, what am I looking for? I started doing that with my dreams as well. When my dreams weren't coming true, I've been studying for this certification on and off for like 2 years. And when I started, it was a really terrible situation because one of my dreams was coming true. One of my dreams that I never thought would actually come true was coming true. But the dream was built on a false narrative. So everything that they told me was not true. And they only told me that to get me in the door. And I learned they did that to all of us. And then they immediately started abusing their power, using us, saying jump. And we were expected to say how high immediately. They weren't paying us. It was just a nightmare, okay? And I quickly reverted back to, I wrote a book about this. This is my very first book, The Accident, How to Shake the Shit Out of Your Life. As much as I want this dream, I cannot stay here again. I cannot work for another boss that is just going to use me and take advantage of me and not pay me. But this time, I could do it differently. This time, I could see it as a door opening instead of another time that I was hurt. And I had the hard conversations, and I brought all of these things to light. And when I left there, nobody was surprised because I was not quiet, and I inspired everyone in that same experience to look at it differently. And we didn't just take it, and a lot of us left. I don't think that the entire training class I started with, I think they were maybe like 3 that ended up staying long term. And they were in a completely different place in their life to where they were not having the same experience as the rest of us because of their experience. So they were able to be smarter about it and build something for themselves, and use them back is what they were doing. And I applauded them because it was genius move for them. For me, I wasn't ready for any of that, and I knew that. This was a different layer that I needed to play around in, but I let it beat me up. I really doubted my intelligence and my just overall ability to be able to be this version of myself. Which is crazy because nobody made me feel like that except me this time. And now I had to take responsibility for how I felt about myself and how I think about myself, how I treat myself, how I hold myself back. And I had to be honest in a way that was incredibly uncomfortable because I had to admit that it wasn't always external. A lot of times it was internal. And I had to take responsibility for my own suffering and for my own lack. And it's really hard to do that and then not go back and look at everything that you could have done differently and then beat yourself up even more. So this time I had to go back and find empathy for that version of myself and change the snow globe. I had to see all the times that that version of myself was actually more confident than I ever gave myself credit for, that I did better and I impacted things beautifully and I brought great energy and I made somebody's day, or I just did something awesome and I had to start celebrating those moments. And again, all the snow globes lit up. All the snow globes started changing. And every time I revisit something and I change my perspective of that part of my life and I change my perception of myself, all of the snow globes change. Everything. And more dreams come true. And dreams that used to feel like I would never achieve them now feel like they're at the tips of my fingers or that I've had them all along. It's the most beautiful and humbling and soul healing experience of my life. And all I want to do is help others change their snow globes and understand the power that they truly have in their thoughts and their actions and everything that they do on the inside. That's what creates the outside. And things are always going to challenge us. Things that we don't think that we can handle will happen. And unjust, unfair, just heartbreaking things will still happen. It's inevitable. But there's so many ways to handle it. There's so many things to do with it. There's so many ways to view it. And that's why no matter how many times I try to throw in the towel, I keep coming back and I keep trusting the process and I hit record and I let my fingers fly and I just try. I just keep trying. And I think that that is what is so important to understand about dreams is until you embody the version of yourself that accomplishes that dream, it will keep working to change you. That is why some dreams feel easy and some take so long. It's because life is waiting for something internally to shift and to align. That dream is waiting for you. And if you don't give up, if you don't get stuck in your elementary school bully vibes and continue on with that for the rest of your life, if you don't hold your trauma and make that the whole experience, if you can learn to let those things go and you can start to understand what is truly, truly important and put all your focus on that, being present, being here, understanding yourself and being empathetic to everything you've been through. That is where it changes. That is where the dreams start to unfold. So if you've been coming back to something a lot, an idea, or you're like me and you keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping, that's okay. Celebrate that shit, y'all. Celebrate it. That's part of it. It is all a part of the journey. It one day will make perfect sense. And then you can see how beautiful it's all been from a different viewpoint. You're closer than you think. Remember, y'all, nothing meant for you will miss you. Just keep going.